secret bank accounts hidden away from your partner in marriage, in a relationship, is actually also financial infidelity. Friends, whenever you're concealing bank accounts from your partner, when you have money stashed away somewhere that you don't want your partner to know about, you are cheating financially.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Omomi, aka Petite Diva, and this video is all about finances between married couples. Now, this video is inspired by videos which have talked about women having a secret bank account so that they can fall on it in case anything happens in their marriage.
My grandmother passed away last year with $100,000 in an account that was in her name only. Reasons why I love this. Nana and Papa were together for 69 years. He was main breadwinner. They had 5 children. Nana was 92 when she passed away. She was not of the generation that typically separates finances, but Papa controlled the finances in the family, and Nana kept this account for herself. I like to think this is just in case he might leave her after 69 years. Stranger things have happened. If that were to happen, she would be in a very vulnerable position. She had a grade 10 education, and they largely lived off of Papa's RCMP pension. So by keeping this money in an account in her name only, Nana was taking care of herself. If they split up and she had to go find an apartment, she could pay for it. It also goes to show that separating your finances doesn't mean that you're not in a true marriage. Again, Nana and Papa were married for 69 years. I said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it. As a woman, you need your own money. Way to go, Nana.
Often what you'll see with women is discussions about a secret bank account. Keep a little money aside just in case.
What's the difference between men and women in terms of spending habits in a relationship, secrecy, avoidance, arguments?
Well, let's start with the roles. Men always describe themselves as providers. Always. That's what we are taught. It exists in culture. The problem is, of course, what happens when they are not the top earner, which is happening increasingly more now. So when I often ask them, who are you financially speaking if you're not a provider? And they're just stumped. But there's got to be something more than simply being a provider. You can be a provider and you can be a nurturer. You can be a provider and you can be a helper, a leader. There's so many different ways. Often what you'll see with women is discussions about a secret bank account. Keep a little money aside just in case. We have to remember that in the US, many grandmothers were not allowed to open up their own bank accounts. That happened in 2 generations ago. And so there has been a rightful message that has been passed down orally. Keep a little bit of money aside just in case, whether it be physical abuse, financial abuse, divorce, etc. And I totally respect that message. I don't think you should have a secret account. I do think you should have an account that is yours only, but no secrets in a relationship.
Japan, women control the money. On my trip to Japan, one interesting tradition I learned about was that Japanese housewives have secret savings accounts that their husbands don't know exist. This is a tradition called hezokuri. After taking their husband's paycheck, paying the bills, and giving their husbands a small allowance, they might hide some money in a dresser, in the back of bookshelves, and some housewives even move the money into a secret savings account that their husband doesn't know about. Housewives don't just hide small amounts of money, but studies estimate that housewives are moving on average over $20,000 yearly into these secret accounts. The secret stash is a way to protect them against unforeseen crises like divorce or illness, and sometimes they even use the money for gifts for their family. What do you think about this Japanese money tradition?
Now, personally, I believe that women should have their own bank account, should have their own money, and they're separate from every money in the house, separate from the husband's money. But I don't think it needs to be secret. Yes, you might not know the amount in my account, but you would know that I have money in my account, and it's my own money, and it's not going to be given to you or given to anybody, and it's my backup money. But having a secret bank account might not entirely be bad because it depends on the circumstances of the marriage. Now, in a case where you know that your partner is very abusive and might want to do things to you, having a secret bank account gives you leverage to up and leave in case anything gets out of hand. Any which way, while checking about couple finances and bank account, I came across videos talking about joint account. Now, before watching these videos, I really was not in support of joint bank accounts between couples, and watching these videos, I'm beginning to understand some reasons for the joint bank account. But let's check out what people have to say about joint bank account, if it is a good thing or if it is a bad thing.
Marriage satisfaction and joy is higher with couples that see themselves as one when it comes to money. For so many people, they're running these two separate lanes, trying to figure out, okay, who pays what bill, what's fair, what's equal. When you just scrap all of that and say, hey, this is our house. When our incomes come in, it is our income. What are we going to do with our money? And you see yourself as a team, as one, as unified. Mm-hmm. And my thing is, I'm like, if you can share a bed, you can share a bank account. You guys are married. You are one. You are together. Now, in your budget, you have a line item. You have money to go and spend and enjoy, and that's great. You know, I have a Rachel line item, and I can go buy us sweaters and new pair of jeans, and I'm not having to like text him every time, right? We have a certain amount of money that I get to spend every month, a certain amount of money he spends, but that's agreed upon. Something changes, not just tactically, things change when you combine accounts, but emotionally, the unity that's created, you start to see yourselves as one.
Here's what we found. Couples who combine bank accounts are happier and they make more progress on their wealth building journey. Budgeting in marriage is not a one-person job. Like putting fitted sheets on a king-size bed. It's just not meant for one person to do alone. You're on the same team, you share the same bed, start spending like it. That's all I'm asking you to do. And it's a lot easier to reach your goals when you're pulling from that same pool of money.
When a couple gets married, should they combine all their bank accounts into joint accounts? That's certainly a question that many couples wonder about, and research into the quality of a relationship has previously shown that, on average, couples who completely merge their finances have higher relationship quality. But a new study published this year in the Journal of Consumer Research says it's not just that couples with higher relationship quality are more likely to combine bank accounts. The actual act of merging bank accounts led to better relationships. Now, don't rush out to merge all your bank accounts with your partner just yet. Let me add a bit of color to this first. So the first 2 years of marriage are sometimes referred to as the honeymoon phase, but marriage researchers call it the connubial crucible, or maybe it's connubial crucible. I don't know. I've never heard that word before in my life. But generally, relationship quality peaks on your wedding day and then has a decline over the next 2 years. And what happens during this 2-year period has some predictive power on the overall happiness and length of a marriage down the road. The researchers conducted a longitudinal field experiment over a few years and randomly assigned newlywed couples into 3 different groups. Those who were told to set up all joint accounts, those who were told to keep things separate, and those who were not given any direction and were free to do whatever they wanted. Now, only the couples who were told to merge accounts and actually did merge accounts were able to prevent the decline in relationship quality during the honeymoon phase, while all the other groups saw the normal decline. Now, again, this doesn't mean it's a slam dunk to merge accounts and that's the key for all couples' happiness. The researchers caution that not everyone should merge all their bank accounts for a variety of reasons, including that having a joint account reduces each partner's independence and may well place them at elevated risk for controlling or abusive behavior from their spouse. But why did merging accounts lead to less decline in relationship quality? And more importantly, is there a way to get the same impact without merging accounts if that's better for you? Couples who merged accounts showed improved feelings about how they manage money. There was increased financial goal alignment, and joint accounts increased we behaviors over me behaviors. And these are all things that can be accomplished with heightened financial communication within a couple, joint accounts or not. So while you might merge everything, you might keep everything separate or use a hybrid approach with a combination of joint accounts and separate accounts, the key, it seems, is to act like a team no matter what structure you decide on.
My brother got married this year, and so he and his wife are now at the stage where they're combining finances. They want to be at the same bank. They want to have joint accounts, but they also want their own accounts. And because I love personal finance and budgeting and bank organization so much, they wanted my opinion. So here is actually what I suggested to them and what they will be doing. First, a little context, a little scene setting. Right now, they both have their own banks. She is at Bank of America and Capital One, and he is at like our credit union that we've been at since we were children. As usual, I'm recommending that they move together into Ally Bank. You can still keep the accounts they currently have, but I do think that Ally will just become their new home base. Ally is FDIC insured. There's no minimums that you have to keep in those accounts. There's no monthly fees. Very user-friendly. You can take your savings account or your checking account and break that up into smaller buckets, spending buckets, savings buckets. I love it. Sadly, this is not sponsored or any kind of brand deal. Now that we got that stuff out of the way, let's get into the actual organization. The first account they're each going to open is just an individual checking account with Ally. This will make it so that the transfers between their joint accounts are just like really quick versus sending money from joint accounts to their individual banks. I have 2 bucket suggestions for their individual accounts, but they don't need to do that. That's just what I would personally do. They will have a joint checking account for groceries and a joint checking account for bills. I think it's important to separate these 2 things out. And then they will get a debit card for each of these checking accounts. When it comes to savings, they will have 3 joint savings accounts, one being their safety net, which is different from an emergency fund, the second one being travel, and the third one being for their future. So I know that they want to save up for a car, they want to have kids eventually, and they do want to invest in a house in the future. So I've included those as optional buckets that they can make. The last savings account that I think they should open is just a personal savings account. This is, again, for ease access. So they can make this for like a wish list or maybe their own personal travel, you know, whatever their heart desires. So right now, their direct deposits are going to continue going to their respective banks, but later this year when they move away, they go to a different state, they move into a house, they figure out what their joint finances are, and most likely my sister-in-law will not be working for a while. They'll just be relying solely on my brother's income. Once that happens, his direct deposit will most likely go into their joint checking account for bills. Other than wanting to combine finances and having some joint accounts, they do want to open a travel credit card specifically, but that is a conversation for another day.
What do you think about shared bank accounts? And he said, if you sleep in the same bed, you have the same bank account. And I thought, what a cool analogy to some capacity. I've never understood couples, and I know there are plenty, and I'm not knocking you, but if you go to the grocery store and like you have a $100 tab and then you leave and you're like, Venmo me 50.
There are couples out there that will keep like kind of like tallies, and I know it's brought some people full happiness. Like I knew a couple that were married and they split everything. They acted like they were like friends in the finance world. Everything else was together, but the finances, they were like best friends. They split everything. And that made them happy. That would not make me happy.
The Venmo transactions for
like
dish soap and paper towels.
No.
Can you go in private? Because it's awkward.
Right.
It's awkward to see that.
I think it's a really good recipe for resenting somebody eventually.
I'm against married couples having separate bank accounts. I think it has to be joint. Separate bank accounts, they could cause issues later on. They could open doors to issues. All of a sudden, like you could be buying stuff you shouldn't be buying, and the spouse won't even know because it's a whole different account. They're not looking at that account. You know, it's your account. And second, when money's coming into separate accounts, this is my money, that's your money. You don't touch my money, I don't touch your money, you know? And it's like, no, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours, you know? It should all be together. You should be paying your bills together. Another thing is when like husband and wife go halves, like no, just combine the money.
That's wild.
Pay it together, you know, not like 50% here, 50% here. Okay, we go out on a date or we go to dinner, 50%, 50%. You guys are a married couple. Why are you guys splitting the bill? You guys have a family together and you guys are splitting the bill? I don't understand that.
To budget jointly is to approach your finances with a combined resources first approach. It's not his income, it's not her income, it's our income. That's it. What we do from there, well, there are dozens of permutations for how that might look. A smart and safe execution stands by this. There are joint goals and there are individual goals. The joint account fuels both. The combined resources fuel both. So we start at a joint checking account, but we flow in multiple directions, some joint, some individual. Harry and Meghan, they're married, and when they get paid, their income hits joint checking. What stays put in that joint account are the funds necessary to cover bills and variable spending, and a little bit of a cushion so they don't risk overdrafting their account. Got it. But no more. The rest of the income is like soldiers going out to execute their missions. $500 towards their joint emergency fund. $1,000 to joint savings for the family vacay to Switzerland coming up. $583 to Meghan's Roth IRA. $583 to Harry's Roth IRA. $400 to Meghan's individual checking account for her personal spending money, and $400 to Harry's individual checking account for his personal spending money. I think we're taking the presence of joint accounts for a couple and assuming, oh, that must mean they completely dissolved any individual accounts or individual financial goals. And we should stop assuming that logic is flawed.
Keep separate accounts when you're married. You guys that are just sleeping together, definitely keep separate accounts. There's no reason to commingle your accounts. Even when you get married, there's zero reason to do this. Keep each person accountable. You got this much money, I got this much money. If you guys are sharing money out of the business, you're sharing how you pay for things, whatever. Have separate accounts. My wife and I have separate accounts. It's not because I don't trust her, it's because I do trust her. I trust her to grow her money and to look at her money. We take care of things. We know how we have things divided up, but we have separate accounts. This will also protect you guys that are living with someone that is irresponsible. When you have separate accounts, both people have to pay attention. Sooner or later, whoever is irresponsible is going to end up with no money in their account, and the other person that's responsible is going to be in the healthy partner. And what you want to find out in that situation is who's healthy, who needs to be corrected, who needs to be held accountable so you can fix it.
Child, did y'all see this post on the Shade Room? It says study shows that couples who have joint bank accounts stay together longer. Now, I didn't even have to read the study to know, duh, of course they do. That means that they obviously trust each other, and trust is highly desirable in any relationship. When you trust somebody, you feel emotionally and physically safe. Duh, of course y'all gonna stay together. Who wouldn't stay together for that? Now, this is what I wanted to talk to y'all about joint bank accounts. Some of y'all don't know that when you have a joint bank account, whether it's with your partner, your spouse, or anybody else, y'all both own that thing. You got to have an abundance of trust, an abundance of open lines of communication with the person, just because either one of y'all can take all of the money out and close that account at any time. You can't say the other person was stealing. And that's a maturity level that a lot of y'all ain't even ready for.
If you're married, I suggest combining your bank accounts. Here's why. Assuming that you want your marriage to withstand the test of time, trust is imperative. And believe it or not, a staggering amount of trust issues begin on the financial end of things. To be specific, financial problems account for up to 40% of divorces in America. That's nearly half. Now, you might be asking, what does having joint bank accounts have anything to do with this? Accountability. You see, when you allow someone else into your finances, you are letting them know that you trust them, but you are also giving them the right to hold you accountable for your transactions. And I'll have you know that a lot of us need that treatment because a lot of us have spending issues. I will take myself as an example, as I always try to do. Prior to getting married, I had a significant saving issue. And by saving issue, I mean I didn't have any savings. When bills came due, I was always scrambling to see how much money I was going to have left, if I was going to have anything left. And just to be frank, it's a very embarrassing and bad look for a man. Fast forward a few years, my then girlfriend at the time, we were planning our future, and I just laid it down flat for her. Hey, listen, I'm not the best saver. And she says, okay, let me see your bank account. She starts looking at my transactions, and within a few seconds, she looks me in the eye and says, yeah, this isn't going to fly. She said, you need to stop this, and you need somebody to hold you accountable because you have proven that you yourself cannot do it. At this point, I have two options. I could stand on the ground that this is my money and I spend it however I want and that is the end of that. Or I could look a little bit further into the future. Understand that this is the love of my life that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and I'm not going to let financial issues get in the way of that. So I gave her full access to my bank account. And fast forward a few months after I proposed, we combined our accounts, which was, in my opinion, a bigger leap of faith for her than it was for me. I am pleased to say that ever since my wife and I combined our finances, we have not regretted it. Our savings are significantly better, and it adds an extra layer of trust into our marriage. This is when I tell you that you do whatever you want to do. Your marriage is yours, and I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. But I also want to advise you that if you get into marriage with the idea of this is my money and you have your own money, that is a very slippery slope. And at the end of the day, marriage is supposed to be an amalgamation of the best parts of each other, and that includes finances. I will end the video saying this. If you lack the capability of trusting another person with your finances fully, then I don't suggest you marry them just yet because finances is the least of your worries.
I always feel a woman should not merge the bank account with the husband when she gets married. This is not necessary because if she has her own bank account and in that if she has her hard-earned money, the husband is definitely going to respect her. But I also feel husband and wife should have one joint account with them which they can put some money together for a common expenses. So always remember, just because you're married, you do not have to give up your financial identity to anyone.
Before you get into bed with somebody, you got to talk about money first. Now, in my last relationship, we were young, We had never made any significant amount of money before, so we never talked about how we're going to act and operate once we start making a lot of money. And it ended up being one of the biggest downfalls to our marriage. Now that's one of the reasons why I'm divorced. But in future relationships, I will never, ever, 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 ever again have a joint bank account. Let me explain what I mean. If I ever get remarried, we're not just going to immediately open up a joint bank account. What I'm going to do is actually set up 3 bank accounts. Her bank account, my bank account, the joint bills bank account. And any money she makes, she can put in her bank account. Any monies I make, I'll put in my bank account, and we will feed money into the joint bank account as needed. Now, I have no problem covering the majority of the weight because at the end of the day, I believe it's a man's job to be the main provider of the family.
Now, apparently, in some Asian countries, like I believe Vietnam, Japan, I also think China, the husband is supposed to give the wife all his income, and then she will give him certain percentage, which some have said is 5 to 10% as allowance, so that he can spend on when he's going out for drinks and rest. And if he needs anything more, he would have to ask his wife. So because she's in charge of the remaining money for the finances of the house, the expenses, and the rest. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. Personally, I feel like if the woman is more financially prudent, yes, it's a good thing for the guy to give part of his income to the wife, like maybe 70%. I'm not a fan of him giving 100% and then she deciding to give him 5 to 10%. No, I feel like he should give 70%, and the 30% he can use it on whatever. And he should also have his own savings, because no matter how you say men are scum, more men are scum, which is not true, not all men are scum. There are some women that are crazy. There are some women that are bad. What if the woman is taking all the money and not spending it on the finances of the house or the expenses of the house, and one day she ups and leaves, he will not have his savings, he will not have things that he owns. So personally, I feel like, yes, he can give like 70% to his spouse, then have like 30% and actually save from that. Now, if the woman is not working, if she's a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife, I believe she should take a certain percentage from that 70% and have her own account, have her own money. So she can take between 5 to 10% of that money, and then the remaining, she spends it on the house, because she needs to have her own money in case the guy is crazy and he decides to up and leave. At least she'll have something to fall back on. Or if the guy is very abusive and she wants to up and leave, at least she'll be able to start her life before she finds something to do. Now, if the lady is working, that's if the wife is working, I believe she should at least contribute something to the finances for the house. So she could contribute like 30 to 40% of her income, depending on her earning power, and then the remaining is hers as savings and for her to spend. I believe that that's more balanced than the husband giving everything to the wife and the wife not deciding to give 5 to 10% and the rest. I don't know, this is my own personal opinion. Now, as for the joint account, now before, I used to feel like it's the wife will earn her own money, the husband will earn his own money, and then they'll put everything in the joint account. And most of the time, it will be the guy spending or paying for bills and the rest, which is like, I cannot put all my money inside the joint account. It's not possible, because I need to have my own money for my own self. I cannot be telling someone that I took this money to buy this for myself, I took this money to buy that for myself, and the person will be like, why did you buy that for yourself? No. But the idea of each partner having their own personal account and then having a joint account for expenses is a good one, because at least you can pull your resources together and then use it to pay for all the things that you need to pay for. And everybody knows that it's only for house expenses, children, feeding, and the rest. So you're not going to see the person use the money for house rent to go and buy suit, or go and buy beer, or go and buy wine. You know that if it's house rent, it's house rent. So don't touch it. Nobody should touch it. So that concept of joint account for expenses and the running of the house is not a bad idea. But that I will put all my earnings into a joint account, and then he decides to put his own earnings, which might be true, which might not be true. I cannot do that. I really cannot do that. But the idea of pooling resources for expenses is okay to me, but the percentage, it can't be 50-50. Unfortunately, it can't be 50-50. I've said it before, I don't do 50-50. Now, I've said I would do other things, but it will not be 50-50. So maybe the expenses, this, I will take it, he will take the larger part. I don't even know. That is my own opinion about that. I cannot do 50-50. And I feel like that joint account for expenses and the running of the house and having your own account gives you a form of independence and also give you a form of collaboration. So you are having your own resources to do things for yourself, and you are pulling some of your resources to do things together. So I think that is a great idea. It's fair in my own opinion. So I don't know what you guys think about this whole topic. Do you think the concept that the Asian people have is a great concept, or do you think the joint account for expenses and each partner having their own account where their earnings and income is going into, and then they have the joint account for expenses is a great idea? Or do you think a joint account where all the income from both parties is put into and then they spend as they want is a great concept? I would love to hear which one you prefer or which one you think is the most ideal. So please leave your comments in the comment section so that we can get this discussion popping. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe, and don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.